Could the trade market heat up early for Bulls guard Zach LaVine, who was absolutely awesome last night for Chicago? I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Subscribe right here to the channel, trying to get our subscribers up before the season starts. We'd love to hit 6,000 before we hit the regular season. So do us a favor, hit that subscribe button. All right, Zach LaVine was phenomenal for the Chicago Bulls last night against the Memphis Grizzlies in preseason play. Yes, disclaimer, it's preseason. I know, doesn't count necessarily and all of that. But still, a guy coming back from a pretty serious injury. Zach LaVine had surgery last year. Now he shows up against the Grizzlies, 22 minutes, 28 points. Unbelievable. 9 of 12 shooting, including 6 of 6 from three. Hit all his free throws as well. Good Lord, 6 of 6 from downtown, 4 assists, 2 steals. This is exactly what the Bulls were hoping to see out of Zach LaVine, and not necessarily because he's helping them win games, which, by the way, they did not win this game. They lost this one. But still, it's not necessarily that the Bulls want to see Zach LaVine play great because they want Zach LaVine to help them win games. No. The Bulls have finally picked a direction, and they're going to rebuild. And that is the right direction for them. Now, maybe it'll be a little bit of a shortened rebuild because they've already got some interesting pieces that are on this team. Guys like Kobe White, he's fantastic. They've got Patrick Williams. They added Matas Buzelis in the draft. They've got some interesting pieces already on this team, but they're also way too guard heavy. It's very clear that there's too many guys on this roster that need the basketball in their hands. And Zach LaVine at 29 years old is simply not part of the future. So what the Bulls need is Zach LaVine to come back, prove he's healthy, and play so well that finally someone will trade for him. And that is what he did last night. Now, that doesn't mean that suddenly teams are going to be beating down the Bulls' door trying to get a Zach LaVine trade. No, they're still going to have the same concerns that they had yesterday, day before this breakout performance, and that is a lot of it having to do with his contract. Take a look at this thing. His contract for this coming season. Zach LaVine, $43 million. Whew, $46 million the season after, and good Lord, $49 million. And insult to injury, right? It's a player option in the final year of his deal. $49 million, and it's a player option in the final year. So that means that even if somehow, some way, Zach LaVine is able to return value on this contract, meaning he blows up wherever he's playing over the next 2 years, and he is phenomenal, and he is worth every penny of that contract. He's just going to opt out. He's just going to opt out, and you're going to wind up having to give him a new deal anyway. So that player option, that hurts even more. That's a lot of money committed long-term, and under the new collective bargaining agreement, it's really difficult to play a guy like Zach LaVine, have him out there, and then pay him as though he is a top-tier star. Because really, if you're going to win a championship, Zach LaVine needs to be probably at best your third best player on your team. But under the new collective bargaining agreement, it's really tough for the third best guy to get max money. I know there's some examples out there. There's some teams out there. Look at Phoenix. They've got 3 guys, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker. There's some teams that are trying to go against the grain, but the new collective bargaining agreement, it's very punitive. It's doing everything they can to try to stop teams from spending and spending and spending. So what you're going to see most teams do is a 2-star build, 2 stars, and then solid depth around those players. Zach LaVine probably doesn't really fit into that mold, kind of like Brandon Ingram. There's a reason why the Pelicans can't find a trade for Brandon Ingram. He's going to get too much money on his next deal, and when he's at his best, he's probably the third guy on a team, not the second. If he's the second guy on your team, you're an okay team, but you're probably not winning a championship. That's the problem that Zach LaVine has, in addition to the injury issues. But if the Bulls can get LaVine to keep playing like this, now I'm not saying he's going to shoot 9 for 12 all that often, but if he can continue to be productive, he is a damn good player. And I'll tell you what, this is what I hate about analysis. This is what I hate, is we tend to take a guy's contract and we let the contract and the bang for your buck bleed into our opinion of the guy as a player. Zach LaVine is an excellent basketball player. He is phenomenal out there on the floor. You don't put up 28 points on 6 of 6 from 3, including the way that he scored these. You don't do that if you suck. That's just not what's going to happen. But what's happened is people focus on Zach LaVine's contract and go, oh my gosh, this is the worst deal ever. And that bleeds into our opinion of Zach LaVine, the basketball player. Separate the player from the contract. Zach LaVine is an amazing basketball player. There's no question. The contract, yes, it pays him a little bit more than he's worth. It's too much. If Zach LaVine was making $30 million, the whole trade market would be completely different. There would be teams calling up the Bulls trying to get a deal done right now, but he's not. He's making that $43 million, and that creates a problem. So what the Bulls need is for a team to see Zach LaVine putting up these kind of numbers to the point where they say, you know what, Zach LaVine, maybe he's the guy for us. And you go and you look and you see his stats long term. Last season, cut short due to injury, 25 games played. You can see here, 58 games played this season, 60 games played, 63 games played, 24 games played. Here, he's had a number of seasons that have been cut short due to injury. Teams are going to be concerned about that. They're going to be concerned about the injury risk if they're going to trade for Zach LaVine and pay him that much money. But you know what else you see when you look at his numbers? Insane consistency. That's the other. If he's on the floor, you know what you're getting out of Zach LaVine. Look at this. I mean, my God. Look at this. 24 points, 25 points, 27 points, 24 points, 25 points. Now just 20 points last season, but that's in just 25 games. Small sample size there. And then you look at the percentages. Every season, he is consistent. Look at the three-point percentage. 35%, 38%, 38%, 42%, 38%, 37%. He's an above average three-point shooter, above league average, season in, season out, including one in which he shot 42% from deep and averaged 27 points per game. His shooting percentages, pretty good, mid-40s. That's fine for a two guard. The assists, the ball in his hands, he's going to get you about 5 assists per game, season in, season out. He is consistent as a performer. The inconsistency doesn't come from what he's doing on the court. The inconsistency comes from injuries. So what the Bulls need is Zach LaVine to show that, yes, I am still this dude. I'm still the guy that's putting up these kind of numbers. I'm a two-time All-Star, and I'm worth the gamble. Yes, I've got this injury history, but I can still light it up. And that's where the Bulls need to find a team that is on the cusp. These are the kinds of teams that are going to be interested in Zach LaVine. Now, I don't think this is going to happen anytime soon. I don't think anybody is jumping for joy to go trade for Zach LaVine after one preseason game. But if he can continue doing this, what's going to happen is you're going to wind up with a team that feels like they're within striking distance, that feels like they're good, but are one piece away. That's where the Bulls need to be aggressive on the trade market and see if they can find a team to make that move. You look at the Eastern Conference. Look, the Knicks made their moves. They're not going to go after Zach LaVine. The Bucks have made their moves. They're not going to go after Zach LaVine. The Cavs, they've got Donovan Mitchell. They're not going to. But look at the Orlando Magic landed Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. If they didn't, they'd be a great example of a team that could see themselves as one piece away. The Indiana Pacers, maybe that's a club that sees himself as one piece away. The 76ers, they made the move. They got Paul George. The Miami Heat, another team that's always looking for that next guy. You go over to the Western Conference. You look at these clubs. The Wolves have done their thing. The Nuggets, same thing. Thunder, same thing. Forget about them. The Clippers, yeah. The Clippers could be a team. They just lost Paul George. If things don't get off to a good start in their new home, they may want to try to make some kind of big move to shake things up. The Dallas Mavericks, they got Klay Thompson. They made their move. The Suns, they're not going to do it. They've already got their big three. But the Lakers, yep, we know the Lakers are going to be aggressive on the trade market. What if the Lakers could talk themselves into going after Zach LaVine? The Pelicans, sure. Look, the Pelicans have got to figure out what to do with Brandon Ingram. What if we loop in a 3-team trade? They're a possibility. The Kings were originally calling the Bulls about Zach LaVine when they ultimately pivoted to DeMar DeRozan. I don't think they make that move to go for LaVine, but you never know. The Golden State Warriors have already made it clear that they want to make a big move. They want to be the team that's going to hit that next level. They don't want to waste the last few years of Steph's career. They want to add firepower as well. The Memphis Grizzlies, they're going to be a lot better this year. I think they've got the pieces they need. They've already got Desmond Bane, but the potential is there. They're a team that could be close enough to where they could say, man, we are 120 point per game scorer away from really making a push. That's what Chicago needs. You just need one. Doesn't have to be all of them. It would be nice from Chicago's perspective if it was, and you get some kind of a bidding war or something like that. But you need one of those teams to go, you know what? We're not far off. We are a Zach LaVine away from making a real push here. And next thing you know, that contract that right now is scaring everybody away in the new collective bargaining agreement that has all the NBA general managers running scared right now. They are concerned about taking on any kind of long-term salary in Zach LaVine's deal. It is the spookiest of them all, sitting at the top as we near Halloween. This is the stuff of nightmares for NBA general managers right now under the new CBA. But if Zach LaVine keeps having solid performances, sooner rather than later, the Bulls will have an opportunity to move him. I'm not saying they're going to get much back with that long-term deal. It's not like they're going to get a bunch of draft capital back or anything like that, but they shouldn't have to include any draft capital to move him if he continues to play well and teams can talk themselves into him being that guy that can put them over the top. So again, in terms of building out a roster, I wouldn't be that interested in Zach LaVine on this number if I'm trying to build out a roster from scratch. If I'm trying to build a team for the future, no, definitely not. Zach LaVine at 29 years old, high flyer, no thank you. That tends to not age well. But Zach LaVine, if you could find that team that feels like they're one piece away and he could be that guy to come in and give you that scoring boost that you need, well, then maybe there'll be a deal to be struck. And that is what the Bulls need right now. This Bulls roster, it's one in transition. But right now, there's too many guys. Zach LaVine, Lonzo Ball, Nikola Vucevic, out. Get him out. Lonzo's got to get back on the court, and I hope he can find health. But LaVine, Vucevic, those guys have got to be moved here this season. If you're the Chicago Bulls, hand the reins completely over to Kobe White. Hand them over to these younger guys, Ayo Dosunmu, heck, even Javon Carter. These are all guys that can handle the basketball. You don't need Zach LaVine on this team. They need to move him and fully commit to the youth movement. They just have to wait until LaVine can string together enough games in the regular season and we get far enough into the season to where a team goes, wow, we could really make a push if we could add a little bit of talent, and that's when the Bulls need to be ready to strike. The other scenario that could see a team interested in Zach LaVine would be if a team has a injury, a team that was expected to make the playoffs suffers an injury. Maybe that gives them incentive to go add Zach. But most likely it's going to be one of those teams that is a piece short. So LaVine doing this, does it help the Bulls right now? No. Does it help them in their tank race? Does it help them capture the flag, Cooper flag? Does it help the race for Ace Bailey? No. And that's going to be the urgency of the Bulls to move on from Zach LaVine before he gets out there and accidentally causes them to win a few too many games, because we know the tank race, it's going to be furious this year in a very, very exciting draft class that we have coming up this summer. But everybody, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Zach LaVine, incredible performance against the Memphis Grizzlies. Is he going to be on the move sooner rather than later? And where do you think Zach LaVine is going to land? I think it's going to take one of those teams that feels like they're just one piece away, that has that urgency to make a move. I keep thinking back to the Lakers. I think they make sense as a team that needs to make a move. I don't necessarily love the target, but that's the kind of team that you need if you're Chicago, the team that should be really desperate to go and make something happen. So let me know in the comment section, who's going to make the move to go get Zach LaVine? Don't forget to subscribe right here to the channel. Till next time, see you and stay safe.